Variety magazine calls him one of the top 10 comics to watch. He is New England's king of comedy, and he's coming back to Barrie, Vermont, and to Rutland, Vermont. New England's king of comedy, comedian Bob Marley joins us. Hey, buddy, what's up? Uncle
What's up,
Bobby.
guys? Not much. Just we have been cranking, doing tons and tons and tons of shows. You know, it's great because the venues are getting a little bigger, and but I'm still doing as many shows. So I'm like, my pimp Huggy Bear Keithley is working me like a rented mule. It's insane, dude. The internet is awesome. You're not going by the old school rules of like when I lived in Hollywood. I lived in Los Angeles for 11 years, and that whole thing was like you're basically waiting for some guy in a suit to say, "Hey, you're okay."
Well, a lot of people don't know that Ray Romano, all of the stand-ups that went on to have situation sitcoms, there was a Bob Marley situation sitcom.
I had 9 deals in a row, and the first deal I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be on TV. This is great. I got to
Yeah.
deal with NBC." And then like a couple months later I went to the meeting and I'm like, "I don't think these people even remember who I am." They gave me a check and everything, and then I'm like, "I don't think they even know who I am." And I went home and told my wife, like, I don't think this is gonna happen. This is 9 deals in a row, and like maybe the third deal in,
Mhm.
I was with HBO, CBS, Touchstone, Disney, ABC, NBC, 20th Century Fox, Quincy Jones. Like I had like 9 deals in a row. Maybe the third deal in, Seinfeld came to the club one night, and he's Seinfeld, right? There was like 3 or 4 comedians on before him, but these are like the best comedians in the world on Sunset Strip.
Sure.
Like swinging for the best guys from every single major city in the United States.
And Pauly Shore.
Yes. And
Oh, sure.
we love Pauly Shore. Like literally swinging for the fence every single night. Guys that are at the top of their game, but like you probably don't know who they are
Right.
at the time because they weren't famous. But you know, like Dave Attell and Geraldo and Dane Cook and Bill Burr and Patrice O'Neill and
Sure.
Dave Chappelle there every night. Mitch Hedberg. Nobody was famous at that point, but like guys that were like really, really good. And I remember Seinfeld came in, and I remember thinking, this guy at the time, like he was like the guy. And I remember watching it. They went nuts for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then after a while, they were kind of like, you know. And I went home and told my wife, I was like, I don't think I'm ever getting on TV. And she goes, "Why would you say that?" I go, "Because I saw Seinfeld and he went up, you know, and he did fine. And I think he's great. But honestly, these other guys were like so good. I mean, I guess my point is like, I learned that like some of that's a crapshoot. So there is some luck involved, even though obviously Seinfeld is amazing, but like there's still some luck involved. There's so many other guys that I would laugh way harder at than Seinfeld. So I was like, oh, I don't think this is going to happen. This is really hard, like to get everything to line up, you know? We were out there grinding away. And then I got to a point where I was like, I think I just want to do stand up. Like, what am I doing? I'm not an actor. Why am I chasing this? This is stupid. I want to be a comedian. I came out here to be a comedian, and now all of a sudden I think I'm an actor. I'm not an actor.
You moved the whole family back to Maine.
I think I'm gonna be freaking Sam Jackson. I'm like, I'm not. I'm supposed to be a comedian. So yeah, I came back to Maine. Since then, it's just taken off. I've done better and better and better every year. So super happy with that decision. Not at all discounting my time in LA because super really nice people, great friends. I had a good amount of success. I did a ton of TV shows and stuff like that, like stand up on TV shows, couple movies and stuff like that. But I tell people the 2 best things I ever did was move to LA and then move home.
Yeah, well, the old man would have said, "This is bullshit, Bob. Bullshit."
Oh yeah, my dad with his glasses. Look, this is what my dad would have said. What the hell are you doing out there? Huh? What are you doing? Get your ass home, will you? Jeez. What's the matter with you? Father would get so wound up that he would chase me around the house because I was a wise ass, if you can't imagine.
Right.
And he would chase me around the house, and his glasses would go tilted because he'd be running after me. He was 6'3", 360, so he wasn't like fleet-footed, and his glasses would go crooked, and he wouldn't take time to fix them. And he would say stuff like this to me, be like, "If I get a hold of you," and I would go, "If I get a hold of you," and my mother would be like, "He's gonna kill you, for Christ's sakes."
This is my dad. It's like my dad. He worked for Pennsylvania Power and Light for 40 years.
Yeah.
And you know, and I'd come home and he'd go, "Who turned the heat up?
Yeah,
What do you
yeah.
think? What do you think we own the power company?" I'm like, "Well, yeah."
Yeah, but you
You
might
worked
know
there.
somebody. you might know somebody, Dad, that can hook us up. What the heck?
Now you're coming to Barry to the Opera House on January 21st.
Yeah, Barry Opera House, Rutland the night before at the Paramount, and then Barry Opera House 2 shows, 5 and 7:30. There's some tickets left, but close to being sold out for both shows.
You said you were a wise ass. Were mom and dad always supportive of the comedy thing? I mean, or what?
My dad was like, "Do whatever you want." He goes, he wanted to be a football coach. My dad was a great football player at Bangor High School in Bangor, Maine, and
Mhm.
had a chance to play college football, and then declined because he didn't have enough money for the books.
Right.
That's like where people were in the
Yeah.
50s. So like they weren't thinking
Yeah.
about college. So he went in the Navy instead, and it got out, and then he was a mechanic, and then he worked for the hydroelectric company, and then so he always said to me, "Do whatever you want." My mother was like, "You're not going to have benefits, Bobby.
Right.
You need benefits. You can't
Well,
do this without
I
benefits. You
think he
need
turned out
dental.
just fine.
You need
because
dental, Bobby."
stand-up comedy is very similar to the world of radio. There are what we call lean years. I mean, in the beginning, I
Oh,
mean, you're dirt poor, right? I mean,
oh, dude, I would get checks from booking guys at bookers. Hey, it's $50 a set, and there'd be 5 shows or something,
right,
and then I'd get the check, and instead of being 250, it'd be like 192. They'd be like, I'm like, what is 192?
right,
I'm like, that's not even close to 250. It's not even like it was 200. He was off by one show. I go,
right,
what is one night? You'd call him up, and he'd be like, Do you want to work again this week? No, and then you're chasing guys for months and months and months at a time for money. And then eventually what happens is you work so much, you're constantly working that even if you're getting money, you're getting it from 3 or 4 or 6 months ago. So it ends up being like rotative cash flow at some point. But it's friggin' hard, man. It's funny because you'll get people, especially a lot of people that'll be like, usually they're drinking. It's in an environment where they're drinking, and they
mhm,
Yeah.
go, "You're pretty good, Bob. But my cousin Larry, he could do
right.
what you do." I'm like, "No, he can't. He can't."
It's tough.
He goes,
It is
"He's
tough.
hilarious. I think he's funnier than you are, Bob." I'm like, "Okay, he might be funnier than I am, but he can't do what I do. He can't."
I've been,
I always tell people, if you think your cousin Larry's that funny, send him down to the show on Saturday night. I got 2,000 people waiting for him. Let's see how he does.
I got to tell you, I have been telling jokes on the radio for 35 years.
You're not funny.
And
Yeah,
when you get up on that stool and that microphone and that spotlight hits you and those people are right in front of you, and I've never had a problem being in front of people either, but it's tough.
yeah.
It is not easy. There is
Oh
a
no, I mean, you're living. Your job options are up every 25 seconds.
yeah, yeah,
And then like when you used to go on TV, they wanted to laugh every 15, 20 seconds. When I would do the Tonight Show and all that type of stuff, they'd be like, We're looking for every 15, 20 seconds." So I'm like, "Well, I'm from Boston, so that I mean, I live in Maine, but I started my first 3 years in Boston, and that's how all those great Boston comedians kind of trained you, which was
right,
like, you got to hammer this shit because these alcoholics are shit faced.
right, right.
You got to get that stuff in before they pass out or leave.
What do you make of comedy and where it's at today? Where all the big guys out there no longer doing college campuses. There
Yeah,
is. It seems like every 5 seconds there's a threat of canceling somebody over something they've said that's comedy in a microphone
yeah.
on a stage somewhere, and it just
I mean, I'm lucky because I don't have a problem with that stuff because I basically talk about myself and my family, and I don't really, I'm not political. I don't I'm I think I had some years ago where I was a little bit controversial or whatever, but I I realize it's not really me anyway, so I don't really have a problem with that. I don't do colleges mostly because I'm friggin' old. I'm 56, and I'm like, I got nothing in common with these kids. Like, I just don't want to do the show because they're all 18. I look out at the room. There's like a bunch of 18-year-olds, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to tell these kids. And my
Yeah.
son said to me, he goes, "Dad, a lot of your audience now is like."
podcast technical difficulties. It happens, right?
Well,
Yes,
it's the main.
I'm in Maine, and I have 5 squirrels outside operating my internet.
Yeah.
So,
Do you know
they
if Barbara Bush were still alive, that wouldn't happen anymore? I'm just saying.
but
I mean,
not on purpose. she'd be like, "Well, they're down at because she's got a hospital up here, Barbara's Bush Hospital." I'm like, "It's not Barbara's Bush, ma. Listen, it's Barbara Bush."
It's funny when my wife and I first moved to New England, we were like, "Oh, the Bush complex is in Kennebunkport," you know. And like on the weekends, we're like, "Wow, we got to do something. Why don't we go to Kennebunkport?" So we drove up there, and it was literally like the scene from National Lampoon's Vacation, where Chevy Chase is looking at the Grand Canyon. It was like,
Yeah,
"Yep, that's it."
we got
That's
married
so
down the
true.
street from that, compound,
Yeah,
and like, the week before, my wife and I were driving by there, and we wanted to put an invitation in the mailbox, and we got married in '95.
right.
So at that point, that compound was on high alert. So I get out of the car and I go to put it in the envelope in the mailbox, and then there's like 5 guys on me. What are you doing? What's going on?" "I got him. I got him. I got the guys." I go, I'm trying to I want to invite the president to my wedding." He goes, "He's not coming. He's not coming. You gotta go."
Right, right,
And
right.
so I started walking up. It was like that Mean Joe Green commercial with the Diet Coke. He goes,
Yeah.
"Hey, kid." I go, "Yeah." He goes, Give me the invitation." He goes, "I'll give it to him. He's probably not coming, but I'll give it to him." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay." So it worked out kinda cool. But
Well,
how great would that have been if he showed
yeah, it
up
would
and
have
he
been great.
like broccoli?
So listen, I know stand up is where it's at for you. We're real excited to have you come back to Vermont and Bob Marley World Headquarters in Maine, championed by Pimp Huggy Bear Oliver Keithley. You do travel all over the country, and you've been to
I
all over the
do.
world.
And to get back to the point we were talking about earlier, all the PC problems that people are having now, like, I don't really have as much of that problem because I don't do a lot of that stuff, but when you see, like, Chappelle just doing his thing, it's awesome, you know?
Mhm.
You're
Yeah.
okay, that's great. I told the audience the other night, I go, "I'm not controversial, I'm not dirty, I go, and I'm feeling the heat." Very dangerous being up there. Anything you say, people could be like, "Well, there it is, right there. He's done." Joyce, he's done. He's done. On top of, under, those are the pronouns now. Him, they, under, on top,
Oh
through,
God,
in,
don't get me started. I
next to,
can't.
beside, over.
100% true right there.
I'm like,
You
"What the hell are we talking about?"
you cut your teeth in the Boston comedy clubs. You
Yes.
obviously have comedians that you look up to from back in the day, and I don't know
Mhm.
Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy. There were greats. There were but people that
Don
are no longer
Rickles,
with
dude.
us. Don
Don
Rickles,
Don
Don
you know,
Rickles,
Rickles.
Rodney Dangerfield.
I
He
tell
was
you,
the
I get no respect.
best. He
Yeah,
was, oh my god, he was the best.
and he
I
was
did
the king of that 10-15 second laugh. I mean,
oh,
he had a punchline every 10-15 seconds.
I did a TV show with him once for TBS that back they had a New Year's Eve special,
Hmm.
and Rodney had a bunch of young comedians on, and I was one of them. And, he came in and he's standing there, we're getting ready, they're setting, and I'm standing there, and they go, "We need to put a microphone on you, Mr. Dangerfield." So, he dropped his pants so they could get the mic in the back. He didn't have any he's standing there, like, pretty much with his stink hanging out. I'm like, "Rodney, you don't have any underpants, like, what are you doing?" And
Right.
he goes he goes, "Hey," he goes, "The fuck do you care?" And I'm like, he
That's
goes,
I,
awesome.
"Go
I've
get me a
watched.
tuna fish." He goes, "Go get me a tuna fish sandwich." So
I
I
would.
Yeah.
I went upstairs and I got him a tuna fish sandwich, and I came back down with a tuna fish sandwich, and I go, "Here's your tuna fish sandwich." He goes, "The fuck is that?" And I go, "It's your tuna fish sandwich." He goes, "I didn't want a tuna fish sandwich. I just wanted you to get away from me." Those guys are my heroes.
Now you're coming to Barry to the Opera House on January 21st,
Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday,
Saturday, January 20th, Paramount Theater, Rutland, Vermont, 2 shows. Sunday, Barry, Vermont, Barry Opera House, 2 shows. Yep.
and bmarley.com is where they get them.
Yeah, buddy.
I've done this a couple times.
Yes, you have.
Well,
Great
listen,
to
we
see you.
we appreciate it. It is great to see you, and for people who have just
Yeah.
sat through this interview, just a personal invitation from you for them to come out and see you in Vermont and what they might expect at a Bob Marley show.
Yeah, so, it's PG-13, and it's not PG-13 in an unfortunate way. It's like there's there's language and some innuendo, and it's fun, and it's not church clean by any means.
It's
But
rated SC, right? Some cussing.
yeah, that's it. There's no F-bombs. I took that out years ago because I counted one show and I said the F-bomb 186 times.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, I might want to back that off because it became like a verb for me. I'm like,
Right.
anyway, no politics, and I mostly make fun of myself and my family. So you're
Your
gonna have
shows are
fun.
always great. Your shows
Thank
are
you,
always
buddy.
great.
It's super fun. I love doing it.
For tickets and information, bmarley.com, New England's King of Comedy, comedian Bob Marley. Thanks for coming on and being in the hot seat with us on the Alpha Men podcast.
Great to see you guys. Right on,
Thank you, sir.
Matty.